Hey everyone, welcome. So glad you're here because today we are diving deep into one of the most dramatic, most exciting categories in the entire world of wine. Yep, we're talking about volcanic wines. And in this explainer, we're going to figure out exactly what makes them so darn special. All right, I've got to ask you a question right off the bat. What does a volcano taste like? I know, it sounds kind of crazy, right? But the answer, believe it or not, can be found right inside a glass of wine. These wines are a direct liquid connection to some of the most powerful forces on our planet. So, to really wrap our heads around what makes these wines so unique, we have to talk about a huge concept in wine called terroir. You can think of it as the soul of the wine, its sense of place. And when that place is a volcano, well, that signature is basically written in fire and stone. What's so cool is that the story of these wines starts before you even take a sip. It's all right there in the nose. And as you can see, we're not just talking about your typical fruity smells. Nope, we're talking about these incredible notes like pedernita, which is this struck flint character, or pólvora, which is literally gunpowder. You get smoke, graphite, like a freshly sharpened pencil, and this amazing saline minerality. These are the smells of the earth itself. So how in the world does a rock end up creating all these wild flavors? What is the magic that's happening under our feet? Let's get into the science, because it turns out volcanic soil is basically a superhero's training ground for grapevines. And like we were just saying, it all comes back to this idea of terroir, the whole environment, the soil, the climate, the slope of the land. But for the wines we're talking about today, the soil is the undisputed star of the show. That volcanic earth is what gives them an identity you just can't mistake. You could say volcanic soil has three main superpowers. First up, it's super porous, so it has amazing drainage. This forces the vine's roots to dig really deep for water, which builds character. Second, it's just loaded with a unique cocktail of minerals. And third, those dark-colored rocks soak up the sun and hold on to heat. All this puts a little bit of good stress on the vine. And that stress is what pushes it to make smaller, more concentrated, and way more flavorful grapes. Okay, let's zoom in on that mineral riches part for a second. This isn't just plain old dirt. It's a treasure trove. You've got potassium, which is absolutely crucial for keeping the acidity in the wine bright and zippy. You've got magnesium, the engine for photosynthesis that keeps the plant healthy and working hard. And then you have iron, which helps add all these fascinating complex layers to the final taste. All right, so we've got the why down. Now let's get to the where. I mean, these soils aren't everywhere, so they create these little pockets of amazing wine around the world. Let's take a quick global tour of some of the most famous spots. First up, we're heading to Sicily, right on the slopes of the very, very active Mount Etna. The vineyards here are way up high, and they produce these breathtakingly elegant red wines from a grape called Nerello Mascalese and super crisp, vibrant whites from Carricante. This is about as classic as volcanic wine gets. From there, let's hop over to the Greek island of Santorini. The whole island is basically volcanic ash, and to protect the vines from the insane winds, growers have for centuries woven the vines into these beautiful, low-to-the-ground baskets called couloura. The wine that comes from them, made from the Assortico grape, is just electric. It's sharp, intensely mineral, and has this salty tang that honestly tastes like the ocean. And check this out. This is what they call heroic viticulture. And really, what else could you call it? This is in the Azores, islands way out in the middle of the Atlantic. They plant the vines in these little plots called terroirs, protected by hand-built walls of black basalt rock to shield them from the salty winds. The wines from here are just bursting with that oceanic salinity and a razor-sharp acidity. But hey, this isn't just an old world thing. Let's jump over to Chile's Maipo Valley, right at the foot of the Andes Mountains. The volcanic soils here give a really unique spin to a grape you definitely know, Cabernet Sauvignon. It gives the wine that classic graphite note we talked about and this really powerful, firm structure. And for our last stop on this whirlwind tour, we're heading to the United States, specifically Oregon's Ala Amity Hills. The red, iron-rich basalt soils here, left over from ancient lava flows, are just perfect for Pinot Noir. The wines are famous for their elegance, a super clear mineral streak, and you guessed it, a signature sharp acidity. Okay, so that's the science and the world tour. Now for the really fun part. How does all this translate to the glass in your hand? Let's talk about what to look for when you're tasting, and of course, what to eat with these incredible wines. So, when you've got a glass in front of you, what should you be looking for? For the whites, think purity, a really zesty, noticeable acidity, and those salty mineral vibes. The reds, on the other hand, tend to be more about elegance. They have these really fine, almost chalky tannins, and the fruit isn't big and jammy. It's more subtle and restrained. And of course, what are we going to eat with these wines? The old saying, what grows together goes together, is your best friend here. A red from Mount Etna, an Etna Rosso, is just a dream with a classic Sicilian pasta alla norma. That zippy Assortico from Santorini, it's practically begging for some grilled fish and salty feta. As a general rule, the whites are stunning with oysters and fresh seafood, while the reds are fantastic with earthy things like mushrooms or lighter meats. You know, when you really think about it, a glass of volcanic wine is so much more than just a drink. Each sip is a taste of the Earth's incredible resilience, right? It's a story of adaptation and of this unique kind of beauty that was literally forged in the fire and pressure deep within our planet. It's a direct line to the geology and the history of a specific place on Earth, all captured in a bottle. It is an unforgettable experience. So I guess the only question I have left for you is, are you ready to taste the story of a volcano?